Welcome to the Monday. Wait, hold on. Tuesday stream. I hope everyone's having an awesome Tuesday. Welcome, everybody. Derry Bennett, Quad Bennett, Heat, how's it going? Carpet Packs, welcome. Welcome. Hello. Quick shout out to twitch.tv/carpetpacks. Go show them some love. I saw that USA Today debate bingo board. I think we can do better, but definitely going to steal from it. I wonder if we can just use that as a format and just kind of copy paste, kind of copy paste what we want. Smoking some Neptune, like from the planet. I have a blank bingo board, but whatever's easier. Oh, okay. Yeah, that works, honestly. Honestly, yeah, that's probably better. That's probably easier. I feel like I'm on Neptune. Does that count? Yeah, sure. Why not? Why not? How are you, sir? I am tired, but I'm doing okay. I ran out of cheese crackers, so that's pretty upsetting. That is most unfortunate. Hang in there. Yeah, I'm sure I'll survive. All right, folks. We got a few things to go through. And, obviously, the most important and pertinent story that the internet seems to be talking about is the doctor disrespect stuff. Like, first of all, like, the thing to take away from this is that pedocon theory is true 100% of the time. Doesn't the name give it away? True. Alright, folks, we gotta get started. The usual disclosures, folks. If you want to support the channel, there are many different ways. Keep hitting the follow button here on Twitch. Keep liking the stream. I see you guys on YouTube. Subscribe on the YouTube channel. Consider checking out the merch store. Join the Discord, folks. Join the Discord. Yeah, I mean, what else is there to talk about? Seriously, it's pretty freaking disgusting. Disgusting, but not surprising, and just proving pedocon theory 100% of the time. I think like that's the real takeaway from this. For those of you that don't know, who Dr. Disrespect is, that's probably for the best, and we're gonna keep it that way. Footlong, welcome. Did politics as a category just die on Twitch post pandemic? I don't know. I don't know how popular it was to begin with. It kind of got revived in January 6th. Then again, October 7th. That's true. I've looked for streamers, but they never have more than like 5 views at a time. Well, if you look in just specifically, if you look specifically in like the politics section, that may be the case. But like as a whole, like there are political, um, streamers. They just don't stream in the literal politics section. I just happen to be one of those people that stream in the politics section. But yeah, a lot of the big, a lot of the big names in politics, I use that, you know, um, I use that colloquially, but a lot of the bigger names in politics, they stream in like the just chatting category. I looked in just chatting, but it's kind of scarce. I mean, you have people like Hassan with 40K. Yeah, definitely. And they don't stream in the politics section. About the four-way trans argument with Beast and Co. No. No, I was talking about Doctor Disrespect. And again, if you don't know who he is, that's probably for the best. I'm not gonna sit here. Unexamined privilege is allergic to politics. Ah, true. He was part of that situation. I saw on Twitter I have no interest in them. Who, Dr. Disrespect? Yeah, well. Patacon theory, I'm telling you. Patacon. Patacon theory is true. My feed is that and Elden Ring. Is Elden Ring actually like any good? I'm genuinely asking. Like that's an actual question. Is Elden Ring like an actual good game? No, it's bad. Why is it bad? People praise it, but it's just Dark Souls in an open world. It's creatively bankrupt. The Soulsborne formula does much better in the Metroidvania framework. Bad because capitalism. Well, I don't know. Dark Souls was okay. I don't know. I was just asking because, like, I see a lot of people play it. It's true what you said, though. Every conservative accusation is a confession. 100%. It never misses. It never misses. Like, I think the most notable thing here, is like who defended, the Doctor Disrespect. Everyone there has their own opinions. I'm not a Souls fan. Some people like it, some don't. Gotcha. I was just genuinely curious because I see a lot of people play it. Do you stream regularly? Monday through Thursday, 5 p.m. Eastern time. It's pretty. I'm mostly pretty strict to that. I'm mostly pretty strict to that schedule. Yeah. So without like, I mean, this is pretty much like all we need to know from that. Um. Like that's pretty much like the only thing that we need to know is the first sentence. Um. I like trolling people that are having a hard time on Souls, like, but I'm an ass. Well, here's the thing, though. Like, everyone has a hard time on Souls unless unless you eat, sleep, and dream Dark Souls. Yeah, it's a pretty difficult game. Okay, I'm not like some kind of expert gamer. Okay, um, and Souls is pretty freaking hard. Okay. Anyways, yeah. So this is all we're really gonna need to cover here on that end. Where do you fall on the left wing spectrum? Progressive, sock them, socialist? I don't know. Um, I don't know. Left wing. A strong proclivity for anti-capitalism. A strong proclivity for anti-capitalism.
It's not Biden, and it wouldn't be Trump if he was president either. While both sides of the aisle like to use gas prices to villainize each other, the truth is far more complicated, sinister, and out of the president's control than they want you to know. Welcome to the true conspiracy.
It's capitalism. What do you want to replace it with? What do I want to replace capitalism with? I mean, ideally, because obviously you can't just snap your fingers and have whatever world you want, but ideally we would move towards a world where workers own the means of production, right? We're talking about like workers owning the companies that they work in. Workers have a democratic system as to how labor is run. Yeah, how that is achieved? Well, I suppose there's many different ways, but anarchist communism. I call myself a post left anarchist for reference. I've never seen that one before. Post left anarchist. Yeah. So, spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. It's capitalism. Vanguard Party or not? What is a Vanguard Party?
Hey y'all, it's Becky here from the Beckosphere, where we talk about the climate crisis and clean energy transition. If those sound like interesting and important topics to you, hit the subscribe button below and ring the bell so you don't miss every time I post. Whew, we are going through a heat spell in all of the United States right now, so if you're overheated right now,
Letting us idea where you have a leader of a party that leads the proletariat into revolution. No, I don't think so.
Don't take extremely cold showers, just take cool showers so your body doesn't go into shock. That's my PSA. Okay, so
Changing the people in charge doesn't help if the system is built for corruption.
gas prices depend mainly on 4 factors as expressed by the U.S. Energy Information Agency: marketing costs, distribution, which is why prices can fluctuate between cities, federal and state taxes, which is why California's costs more than Wyoming, and oil prices. Notice that besides the federal tax, which isn't worth very much, the president doesn't really have any control of these factors. Oil prices are what we're going to focus on today because it accounts for well over half of the price of the pump and is what causes the price to fluctuate in a way that people get all up in arms about.
Right, and this is all artificially manipulated because the market is so consolidated into few hands. I'm one of those purple areas. Yikes. Isn't anarcho-syndicalism just the classic anarchism? I know there's different flavors. Hambless, thank you for the tier 1 sub, I appreciate it. Any representatives open up for corruption? Yeah, but there's ways of having, like for example, unions are just representatives of the workers in that workplace, right? But if you have a system where there's a more democratic, where there's more democracy, where workers can have a little bit more control over what those union leaders do, then that's different. If there are unions, there will be representatives. That's what I don't like. That's why I don't like unions. There's no need to put anything between people and the power and choices. Yeah, but like you kind of need unions when you kind of need unions when capitalists have all the power. Hambless, thank you for the tier 1 sub. Anarcho-syndicalism is closer to OG definition of socialism. Workers only the means, democracy in the workplace. Yeah, I'm on board with that. I'm not saying to hell with unions, just that it's about as useful as voting. It works for harm reduction, but it can't be the main strategy. Yeah, but at the same time, like you can't just do nothing, right? Unions step in where individuals cannot. Yep. And so long as those unions have the ability to be democratized, and the workers are the ones that are electing the policies and electing the leaders that the unions select, and that's fine. Liberalism has poisoned unions. I don't know what that means, man. I really don't. It seems kind of a silly concept, right? Because like you need unions right now. You need unions. And the fact that like the amount of the amount of the workforce that is unionized in this country is like is pitiful. Is pitiful. So you definitely need more unions. Take every inch of ground you can, but keep your eyes on the prize. A classless, stateless, and moneyless education is the key. Yeah, I don't disagree. But I also believe that because unions are created within the system that oppresses it, has forcibly been made to act within the confines of that system. The system itself has to go, and that's something a union can never accomplish. I don't know. I think that like, while just being a part of a union doesn't like, doesn't bring about socialism or whatever, doesn't mean that it can't be a useful tool. Like, you need class solidarity. You need worker solidarity. And a union can provide a vehicle. A union can provide a vehicle for creating the environment of work, or creating that environment of worker solidarity. I think that's the usefulness of unions. It can instill these very important lessons, I think. Unions are a response to abuses of labor by capital. Yes. And while they, again, are forced to operate within the same system, they are a response to that. And I think it's important. You have to remember that a union will have as many right wing as left. The key is you're fighting together for a worker related issue. That's why you should not shite on right or left wing folk in a union. Well, the union's there to protect workers, right? Period. Full stop. What's your view on voting? I think that if you have the ability, you should. And don't expect to, like, fuck off. Unions are a distortion of labor market. Just fuck off. Anyways. Yeah, I think that, like, voting is fine. You should use a tool if it's available to you. Especially if you're in a position or in a area where you can affect directly policy. So if you're in one of those states, if you're in one of those states that have, like, what are they called? Amendments or ballot initiatives, then yeah, you should probably vote. There are local elections and local positions that are incredibly important that you can help be a direct part of. So in that sense, yeah, I think you should. If it's available to you, it's a tool, I'd say you use it. Billionaires are a plague on capitalism. I would say it's just the natural conclusion, right? Capitalism is a plague. I was going to beat you to it, Footlong. Capitalism is a plague on humanity. There's only one union that I think should be dissolved, and none in the field should be allowed in it, so that it's properly ran and controlled. The police union. Yes.
Rightfully so, of course. Everything is so expensive right now. It feels like salt in the wound every time filling up the tank costs even more. And the price of oil is so embedded into the cost of everything too. So when it goes up, life just gets more expensive. Literally, oil prices drive inflation. You should feel angry about inflation. You should feel angry about the price at the pump.
Right, but why is that? The reason why oil prices are like this is because of the market is consolidated into such few hands, that they can kind of just basically do whatever they want, and the ripple effects are seen everywhere. It's not inflation, it's price gouging. Yes.
I'm just encouraging you to put your anger in the right direction, you know? And that direction is towards oil companies.
Yep.
Because
it's the oil companies, 100%.
Doesn't matter if the president leased more drilling sites or provided more subsidies, which the latest presidents have done both of, the prices still stay high. This is purposeful, and you can see it from the record profits fossil fuel companies are still raking in. That brings me to the true conspiracy. Fossil fuel companies are working together to keep gas prices this high.
Yes, and the reason they're able to, is because it's so there's so few hands there. It's so easy for them to just collude, and ensure that their profits continue. Every time the police union defends are clear criminal, and the ones that refuse to stand for police are doing the right thing, like the Kruger from the recent events. If it was inflation, the prices would match the inflation percentage, but they don't because they're way more expensive. Right. This is not inflation. This is just price gouging. The price of fuel is one of the ways they coerce us to work for capitalists. It's part of the system of wage slavery. Yeah, and unfortunately, like it's made its way into so many aspects that we need. It's pretty gross how this whole thing works. I've seen it called greedflation. Yeah, greedflation. Sure, that works too.
They're basically acting like a unit. You would think that having multiple companies...
it's the same thing like how these airline corporations got together and collude because there's few of them. A president can affect it, but that's causation versus correlation because 4 out of 5 of the last Republican presidents have been on the board of big oil. But I think like I don't know. I think it's maybe you can maybe say that like a Republican administration is going to be more favorable to an oil lobby. But yeah, that may just be the reason.
Companies, Exxon, Chevron, Shell, would create competition that would keep prices low. That's like economics 101, right? But that's not what's happening. This behavior is why OPEC...
Right, because when you have such a consolidation of such few hands, that's not what happens. Capitalism does not want competition. That's not how capitalism fundamentally operates. They don't want competition. They want monopolization. Inflation is 3.7%. That's nothing really if companies actually raise their prices matching inflation, but it doesn't. Right. And what are you going to do? Not buy food? What are you going to do? Not be able to get to work? And even if you didn't drive to work, there are many different like ripple effects that the price of crude affects. They reduce taxes so it's more profits without them raising the price, so it's still the people paying for it.
The Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries, is called a cartel by many. We usually hear that word in the context of drugs, but let's read the definition again. A group of independent market participants who collude with each other as well as agreeing not to compete with each other in order to improve their profits and dominate the market.
Right. So monopolization effectively. Like it's not a pure monopoly, but it's an oligopoly, right? Capitalism hates competition the same way white supremacy hates competition. Capitalism serves white supremacy. Well, in the sense that, like, yeah, they're both incredibly authoritarian Yeah, I guess they kind of serve. You have some communities that don't buy into that kind of stuff, like Amish community, for example.
Yeah, that's literally what the fossil fuel companies have done to a T. They all meet together to talk strategy. And they've been doing this for a long time, so they're starting to get more brazen. Companies have begun literally merging into one. Last month, the Federal Trade Commission, or FTC, approved a $60 million merger deal between ExxonMobil and Pioneer Natural Resources.
Cool,
While
cool,
it
cool,
gave
cool,
the
cool.
okay for Exxon to buy Pioneer, the FTC barred Pioneer's former CEO, Scott Sheffield, from becoming a board member. Actually, I believe they banned a lot of the board members. In a following report, the FTC...
Yeah, but like, come on. That's kind of silly. Like, we have literally antitrust laws or anti-monopolization laws, and the government is just like, yeah, it's cool. It's cool.
said that it found evidence that Scott colluded with OPEC and OPEC Plus to raise crude oil prices so much that it might have cost the average American household an extra $500 a year on fuel per car. That's price fixing. And let's look at how much money these companies have made for their shareholders recently. $300 billion in the last 2 years. Yeah, that's actually criminal. It actually might be. Democrats want the Justice Department to look at whether this violates the Sherman Antitrust Act. In a letter to the DOJ, the congressman expressed concern on how this...
Yeah, cool. Like, it's amazing how we just, like, allow this. Jane Doe, welcome. The law exists to bind and not protect, or to protect and not bind, depending on who you are. Makes sense.
This is impacting our national security. After all, OPEC works with Russia, Saudi Arabia, Iraq, and Iran. Despite America being the largest crude oil producer in the world, we are not actually part of OPEC, and we also still import about half of our oil supply. We should be their biggest competition, and for the longest time we were. That's one of the reasons why prices used to be more reasonable. While it felt good for everyday Americans to have those low prices, both OPEC...
It should piss you off. It should piss you off. Like, seeing this, face to face. It's just wild. It is really absurd how, like, just literally a handful of companies, can unironically just, like, be so corrosive to society.
OPEC and the American oil companies' shareholders weren't really liking the arrangement because it kept undercutting the prices that lined their pockets. So in 2017, OPEC and the American oil companies met to chat about their common interests. And you can actually see the correlation between them meeting and gas prices starting to go up. But then the pandemic happened and no one was driving, so the prices dropped because there was more supply than there was demand. So when the US economy got back online, fossil fuel companies chose to not up the supply to make up for the increased demand. They also refused to do so when Russia invaded Ukraine. And this is because, allegedly, they had formed a new understanding that it was better to just keep the supply low.
Right. So the understanding is our pockets need to be filled even more. That's the beginning and end of that understanding, okay? Like, that's it. Like, that's literally it. Like, this is not about oil. This is about profits. Who cares if we're artificially withholding the supply of oil? Who cares if we're, engaging in price fixing? It doesn't matter. The point being is profits is the number one thing that these people think about.
And rake in profits. Struggling Americans, be damned. Again, all this information is like not from the dark side of the web or anything. It's literally from a combination between the latest FTC report and what oil analysts have been saying for years.
We went off of the evidence, their text messages, their emails. When companies and top executives say that they're trying to collude, we believe them.
That and some fossil fuel heads are...
So what are we doing about it, right? Like, the FTC is approving these mergers, and it's absurd. They simply entitle themselves to the value of your labor that you're allowed by your employer, same as a landlord.
outright saying it as well.
We have committed to our long-term shareholders will be growing 0 to 5% regardless of the oil price. Obviously, we're going to be sending 80% of our cash flow back in form of dividends to our investors. In addition, we've announced a $4 billion stock buyback. About half the independents, the public independents, are adhering to that 0 to 5%.
Now, of course, the American Petroleum Institute, the biggest lobbying entity of the fossil fuel industry, shrugged this off as the act of one individual and quickly blamed Biden for not giving fossil fuel companies more land as the reason for why prices were so high. That's always their counter.
Right, and that's nonsense because, like, the Biden administration did give them land. We are a captive market and they're abusing that fact. Yep. It's not even struggling Americans. It's F everyone on the planet except our shareholders. Yeah. Yeah. And ironically, that's true. We'll pay because paying is related to our survival or the relative comfort level of our survival. Right. And they know that. Like, what are you going to do about it, right? Like, what are you going to do about it? Not work? Not pay? What are you going to do? Not fill up your tank of gas to go to work? Oh, you're going to take public transportation? Well, thank goodness the car manufacturing lobbies haven't shot the public transportation in the foot several times. General strike needs to be organized. Just quitting isn't going to hurt anyone but you. Yeah, I agree. I agree. So I'm saying, like, what are you going to do? You need to do what you need to do and work with whatever tools work with whatever tools you're given. If you have the ability to organize, I know sometimes it's not, it's not as easy, but if you do have the ability, absolutely. Yeah, don't listen to dipshits saying to just quit your job and protest. Oh, man.
But big...
Like, if an individual just, like, quits working in protest, like, listen, I understand, but, like, man, the only person that's going to suffer is you. A systemic problem is not going to be solved by an individualistic solution.
Oil already has over 23 million acres of land, and they're not drilling on over half of it. So clearly that's not the reason. Also, Scott isn't just some dude. He was one of the biggest players of the American petroleum industry until very recently, having private dinners, text messages, and emails with OPEC nations and the Texas oil regulator. These companies just want to keep making record profits and then buying each other up with that money.
Right, because that's the only thing that they're interested in, right? Like, this is just that's it. That's where it begins and ends.
Now we're starting to see in the news that ConocoPhillips wants to buy Marathon Oil for $17.1 billion. Which brings me back to the previous video where Trump allegedly promised Big Oil that it would get FTC off their backs if he got back in the office. He's totally fine with companies pricing Americans out of existence. Because a lot of Americans don't realize that fossil fuel companies are the ones behind it, and so then they give in to this idea of drill baby drill, because again, Economics 101 would suggest that the reason why prices are so high is because there's not enough supply. But that's not what's happening here.
I will stop Biden's wasteful spending and rapidly terminate the Green New Scam, which is a total...
True. The Green New Scam. A thing that totally happened. The Green New Scam.
Total scam. We're spending money like drunken sailors. You know the expression, drunken sailors? They love that expression. I will end the Biden inflation nightmare, and we will end it quickly.
Quickly.
And I will repeal crooked Joe Biden's insane electric vehicle mandate, and we will drill baby, drill. We will drill, baby, drill. Right?
Doing this would just further the reliance on these CEOs who are just trying to make shareholder profit. So what now? It's probably unsurprising to hear from this channel, but we need to reduce oil companies' power by moving away from fossil fuels as the main source of energy.
Yeah, so yeah, this is like a long-winded argument for like the nationalization of these of this industry. That's what I'm hearing. Okay, that's what I'm hearing. Nationalize these fuckers.
Energy supply. Fossil fuel companies are clearly not interested in being part of the clean energy transition in any meaningful capacity, as they keep dropping their decarbonization and clean energy ambitions every few years, just quietly, seeing if y'all don't notice. I noticed. So we need to encourage a new combination of energy companies and publicly owned entities to take over this new chapter, while making sure that the new companies won't be able to reach this level of power again. We need to learn from our mistakes. Clean energy already produces.
I think, by the way, that's not going to happen. Unfortunately, I'm hearing is like, let's get actually serious about alternative energy. Oh, 100%. But like that's the rub, right? These oil companies don't want that to be a thing, and because they are so powerful and because they're so influential, that's never going to happen. So you need to take that power away from them, one way or the other. And if they don't like it the easy way, then just nationalize them. It's that simple. In my opinion, I think that's the best course of action.
Produces more domestic jobs than fossil fuel companies and revitalizes energy towns that have been left behind by the fossil fuel industry. And now we're encouraging more manufacturing to be produced in the United States with the recent tariffs on China and the Inflation Reduction Act encouraging more domestic manufacturing. So clean energy is actually the best way that the US can move forward in its energy independence idea, which I'm not against. I'm just saying fossil fuels is not the way to go. Here we are as the biggest producer of oil, and yet we still require half of our oil supply to come from other countries. So that method ain't working. And the price of clean energy rivals the price of gas despite having way less subsidies. So it seems like the obvious direction to strengthen our national security and lower energy prices now is to encourage the clean energy transition. What do you think of the FTC report and my thoughts on the clean energy transition? Let me know all your thoughts in the comment section below. It's now time for a fun fact about Rue. Rue likes to sleep with the grandparents. He sleeps with them probably about half the night, and then he sometimes sleeps with me. Though I'm trying not to get salty with the fact that he sleeps with the grandparents more. It's fine. It's good that he loves them, right, Rue? You still love me, right? I'm still mom, right? He won't look at me. It's fine. I'm not salty. But he likes to sleep like right in the middle of the bed and make everybody contort around him despite him only being 10 pounds. He can really stretch out. And that was a fun fact about Rue. Okay, now you can go.
Pretty baby.
Until next time, remember to talk about the climate crisis every single day and to...
I love Rue. That tail shows how pissed that cat is. A lot of countries cannot last more than 24 hours without foreign oil. Maybe we should be helping them to not rely on oil at all.
support your local news and environmental organizations.
True.
Thank you to
All right. Yeah, so turns out capitalism. Nationalized. My Toby looks like Rue. That's adorable. Pics in Discord, yes. There is a channel that's called Pets, right? Pet Pictures, I think.
Today is a very big day, my friends, because we've got huge elections taking place in Colorado and New York. There's a lot of races to watch, and one that I've been talking about a lot is Jamal Bowman's race in the 16th Congressional District of New York. I will be doing a video about that once we get some results, so be on the lookout for that. But for right now, I just want to talk about the race.
Okay, so let me just stop right there. That race doesn't look pretty good. But I suppose we'll see.
In Colorado's 4th Congressional District, specifically the GOP primary involving Lauren Boebert, because we are soon going to find out if her switch from District 3 to 4 is going to either pay off or blow up in her face. Now, I'm hoping for the latter, but, we don't necessarily know how it's going to turn out, although polls do show her ahead by quite a bit. She's also the biggest fundraiser, so take that as you will. But having said that, though, one of her potential Democratic opponents, John Podora, released an ad trolling her over, you guessed it, the Beetlejuice incident. And here's that ad.
I'm John Podora. I'm sitting in the very same seat that Lauren Boebert got kicked out of. The same way she got kicked out of Colorado's 3rd Congressional District. Now she's picked up her bags and fled to eastern Colorado to run in the 4th Congressional District. That's a race I've been running since May of 2023. Boebert's an opportunistic carpetbagger, and we deserve real leadership here in Colorado's 4th. Please, if you can, chip in $5, $10 today to make sure that we have the resources we need to win this race.
Okay, not bad. I'd give it a 7 out of 10. I think that you could have fit more attacks on her and more policy substance in there, but regardless, I think that these...
Unless my fur babies had to move where I can't have pets, only have a picture of the bully boxer we rescued. Aw. The good old BJ and BJ. No, it was a handy, wasn't it? If you run for office, I'll vote for you. Thank you.
Kinds of ads, specifically against Boebert, they're brilliant, not just because, that was a humiliating moment for her, of course. That's pretty obvious. But it's also important because it speaks to Bobo's hypocrisy. She has always portrayed herself as this family values, self-proclaimed Christian nationalist Republican who oftentimes accused LGBTQ plus people of being groomers and being inappropriate in public, but yet there she was in that seat doing the very thing that she was purportedly against. So nobody cares. Fundamentally, nobody cares literally about the incident. It was the whole hypocrisy behind it. New pet pics on server. Go check it out, folks. Have to capitalize on that because it speaks to who she is as a person. And on top of that, it's brilliant strategically because Republicans in that district have expressed disgust with that action. And we've talked about the articles where they spoke with Republicans and they're like, yeah, I agree with her on the policy, but I just think that members of Congress should be more respectable. And that's not too surprising for the fact that this is Ken Buck's old district. We're talking about a lot of traditional normie Republicans who aren't as sycophantic with regard to Donald Trump, although to be fair,
let's go, Ike McCorkle. Is a handy in front of a child under that age of 17, but BJ and a BJ's more catchy. Jesus, in the presence of a kid? Yikes. That's more yikesy than I remember.
There are a lot in that district, but
welcome to Ponder Monkey.
It has been kind of a sticking point for a lot of people. So look, if I were running against her, you bet your ass I'd be capitalizing on that incident. I'd be running ads about policy, but also nonstop running ads against her, calling her Beetlejuice Bobo or something like that, because you just can't not miss that opportunity to call her out for that hypocrisy. So I am encouraged to see John Podora use that line of attack against her because that's something that is smart, and it also worked for him clearly because he went viral. There were articles written about that ad, which is everything that a candidate could hope for. The problem, at least with regard to John, is that I think it's a little bit too late because it doesn't actually look like he is going to be the Democrat taking on Lauren Boebert if she wins her primary, because internal polling from his opponent, Ike McCorkle, shows that John is actually losing to both McCorkle and Trisha Calvares, although to be fair, with 41% of voters unsure. So, it could still go either way, but it doesn't necessarily look good for John. But this same poll also shows McCorkle beating Boebert by 14 points in the general. Now, to be fair to John, this strategy of attacking Bobo to increase your own name recognition, I think that's exactly what you have to do. It makes sense. But it's hard to imagine it'll actually pay off for him this late in the game. But to be frank, I really don't care which Democrat takes on Bobo in November, because I've looked at the platforms of all of these Democrats and they all suck, to be honest. None of them support Medicare for all. McCorkle doesn't even have a healthcare section on his issues page. So they're all very standard, run-of-the-mill, milquetoast corporate Democrats. But if one of them is able to beat Bobo, then hell, more power to him, right? But it does seem like McCorkle is the one who's going to take on Bobo. And, if he does end up winning, he needs to emulate Padora's strategy. Do an ad just like that. Hell, copy him. Do exactly what he did. Because believe it or not, this really is a sticking point for Republican normies. And this issue hasn't gone away, and I don't think it's going to go
Republican normies.
away for Bobo anytime soon. And I say this because, as Yahoo News reports, Boebert has been plagued with Beetlejuice references throughout her campaign in the 4th District. During a debate in May, moderator Kyle Clark brought up the incident and bluntly asked, "Did you apologize for the behavior that went on with you and your date, or the vaping, or did you apologize for lying to voters about what you did that night and the disrespect that you showed to service workers that night? What specifically were you apologizing for?" Earlier that month, when Boebert visited Washington University as students protested Israel's war in Gaza, demonstrators mocked her by chanting Beetlejuice. Boebert was also taunted by a fellow Republican in January when Representative Lisa McClain told guests at the Washington Press Club Foundation's annual congressional dinner, quote, "I know it's date night for some of you, but no inappropriate touching. That includes you, Lauren Boebert. No vaping either." Now, on top of that, you have comedian Jason Selvig of The Good Liars, who asked her for an autograph of his copy of Beetlejuice.
Yeah, the real problem is the vaping. Or just moron. No, yeah, she's just a moron.
Musical outside of a courthouse during Trump's trial. So needless to say, she's never going to live that down, nor should she, but I do want to talk a little bit more about the Beetlejuice chant by that crowd, because I feel like the article really didn't do it justice. And I didn't originally talk about that when it happened, but it was really magical. So to kind of set this up for you, she visited a student encampment, and the first thing she tries to do at George Washington University is tear down a Palestinian flag. Doesn't go very well for her. But then as she's leaving, that's when the crowd chants Beetlejuice. But it's not like the crowd is just like chanting Beetlejuice, because you hear boos from time to time and heckling. They were right in her fucking face, basically, like 20 feet or so away from her, chanting this very loudly. So she absolutely heard it, but seeing it really shows you how embarrassing this was for her. So let's watch that.
Stop! Excuse me, that's not private. Excuse me. This is, yes, it is private property. This is America, and that shit needs to come down.
What a freaking clown.
Love that. So she got owned by a Palestinian flag, then the crowd. And that just honestly warms my heart so much. Seeing videos like that makes me feel not necessarily hopium. I guess it just gives me momentary satisfaction, which, I'll take it. It's better than not being satisfied momentarily. Now, this goes without saying, but the Beetlejuice incident obviously isn't substantive or policy related. But I think that sometimes it's okay to just give bad people a taste of their own medicine. I think that's warranted, especially when it comes to somebody like Lauren Boebert, who's a monster. This is somebody who would violate the own standards of the Christian nationalist nation that she wants to impose on all of us. So, of course, I think it's worthwhile to point out the hypocrisy that she's exhibiting. Now, whenever you see somebody like this, be it an anti-abortion Republican who pays for the abortion of his mistress, or an anti-gay politician, getting caught liking porn or being with a gay prostitute or sex worker, or, you find somebody who is a member of Congress who gets caught jerking off their date during a Beetlejuice play, I think that it's incumbent on all of us to call out that hypocrisy. Make it so that's what they become known for, because it exposes how this entire movement, their worldview is just a sham, right?
You're right. It's just, it's just a sham in the sense that like what they actually pretend to care about is not really what they care about, if that makes sense. It's all a front. Sync up, protesters. Schadenfreude. Freud? I don't know how to pronounce it. Pleasure derived from someone from another person's misfortune. Yeah, there you go.
And they're just saying what they think Republican voters want to hear because they want to get elected. That's pretty evident. Now, with all of that being said, even though there's anecdotal evidence that the Beetlejuice thing is hurting her, at least with some Republican voters, it doesn't seem like it's enough to tip the scales against her. And again, I say this because she is...
Schadenfreude. Germans know misery. It's effing prom.
Is both leading when it comes to polls against her GOP primary opponents and raising more money than them. So, look, at this point, I'd be surprised if she didn't pull off a victory, but at least based on that one poll from McCorkle, there is a chance that the district is in play in general. So we'll just have to wait and see. You know, either way, let me just leave by saying this. Everyone in District 4, if you're a Republican, you have the chance to do the funniest fucking thing ever. So why not give this to us? Why not grant us a small win, right? I'm not going to get my hopes up, but, you know, you could do this, and it would be really awesome. But if she does win, I don't expect the Beetlejuice story to go away anytime soon.
I mean, like, she might lose her primary. Like, we might wake up to the news that she lost her primary, so there's that.
It's going to haunt her. You know, if she wins, every subsequent Republican and Democratic opponent she faces is going to bring this up again and again and again. And at least that thought does give me satisfaction, even if she wins, right? But, you know, we'll have to wait and see what happens. Now, again, expect a video from me about the outcome of Jamal Bowman's race, because that is very important. I don't know if that's coming late tonight, or tomorrow morning. We'll see. But by far, that is the most consequential primary taking place in this entire cycle. So, of course, I'm not going to miss that. So stay tuned for that.
Michael Hasser, welcome. When she passes, someone should put a fake PJ grave next to hers with a speaker that makes it sound like a hitting wood with hand over speeding up and slowing down.
Let's talk about this latest polling, Emerson polling, and on its face, it looks pretty bad for Biden, but I'm going to explain why I do think there's significant room for improvement for Biden here. Basically, in every swing state, Trump is polling ahead of Biden at this point.
Yeah, so like the only thing that could possibly be the saving grace here is that like the fascists just trip over themselves so hard that someone like Biden could pull it off, could eke out the victory.
Point. Let's scroll down, Bradley, if you don't mind. We can put this on the screen here. So this is the state polls you can see here. Arizona, if we could just put the cursor over. In Arizona, you can see that Biden is losing to Trump by 4 points. In Nevada, Trump is up by 3 points. In Georgia there as well, you can see Trump is up. That's a little less surprising. Michigan, Trump is up by 1 point. Pennsylvania as well, you have Trump up by 2. Michigan, Trump's up by 1. Wisconsin, Trump's up by 3. In Minnesota, they're tied.
Oh, I swear to God, if Joe loses Minnesota.
Because, I mean, Minnesota is in the middle of a real progressive upswing right now.
It also didn't go
right, but on that same token, right, like most progressive people are not happy with Biden. I'm glad nobody else said Beetlejuice. You have to say it 3 times, right?
It hasn't gotten read since Nixon, right?
Yeah, it's that would be That would be, I think, a shocking result, because then you scroll to the Senate numbers, if you don't mind going down to that, Bradley. Let's look at this. So Galejo is up against Kari Lake here and is up by 4 points. Not an incumbent either, so that's a pretty significant lead, especially when we know that I think July 3rd is the deadline for the Arizona pro-choice activists to submit the signatures that they need for abortion to be on the ballot in the fall. And it's around 380K for the signatures that they need, and they've already collected more than 500,000. It gives them wiggle room in case some of the signatures get thrown out. But that should only increase Galejo's lead there. And
yeah, so like this is exactly a perfect example of like why you should go and vote if you live in an area or a state that has like these ballot initiatives. Republicans have some very powerful and capable people in their camp, not Trump. I feel, well, you know, the orgs, the actual like organizations are, I think, more sinister. I feel it depends on SCOTUS if Trump wins or loses, because most Republicans are trying to be quiet. Only thing I can see is if SCOTUS makes another decision like the abortion stuff. I don't know. You mean like, are you saying that that the election is going to be debated in front of the Supreme Court?
That just seems like
Bush v. Gore kind of deal. Is that what you're saying?
So Biden being down by 4 points, but Galejo being up by 4, that's a massive difference. And it shows that, yes, there's a significant lack of enthusiasm for Biden. But that is a kind of split that is not going to hold on election day, I'm telling you. Because people go to the polls and they vote down ballot. And there will be people that leave it blank, or maybe even vote for Trump and vote for Galejo, although I think that will be quite marginal. But that just means that's an 8-point room for improvement right there, with a Democratic non-incumbent leading Kari Lake by 4 points. And then Jackie Rosen, who is an incumbent, but is up by 12 in Nevada, and Biden is down by 3. I mean, that is just incredible there. Right? 50% to 38. She's up by 12 points.
What it looks like to me is a giant opportunity being wasted on a massively unpopular presidential candidate.
Oh, and sorry, it's good.
Yeah. No, like we need another parade of shit. They're doing something stupid again. Oh, we need to pray that they do. Okay, gotcha.
There you go. I'm sorry for saying it incorrectly. Thank you for correcting me, CPJ, on the IMs.
And also, just to foreground to this right before, Amy Klobuchar being up 11 in Minnesota, as well in this Michigan Senate race. Alyssa Slotkin also being up
by 4 points.
4%. It's like, it's seemingly, as we're saying, even in places where we weren't even anticipating this level of like competition, Klobuchar is not even competitive for her, and yet it's tied electorally for the marquee race. It's just like,
yeah, so tied in Minnesota, but Klobuchar's up by 11. That's the differential between Biden and Klobuchar. And then, as you said, in Michigan, Slotkin, not an incumbent, but she's up by 4 points as a centrist Democrat, and Biden is down by 1 point. Pennsylvania, you turn, Trump's up by 2. Bob Casey is up by 6. In Wisconsin, Tammy Baldwin is up by just 2 points, which is a little surprising to me. But I do think Wisconsin, I'm not sure. I'd imagine she wins that race, but Trump is up by 3 points in Wisconsin right now.
Wisconsin has basically, I don't think, ever had a non-close like gubernatorial or Senate race in like 20 years. So even if like that doesn't surprise me as much in terms of the margin, I still do think for now Tammy Baldwin is not going to lose. But
yeah. So the enthusiasm gap is as significant as it could be, right? Biden is clearly a drag on the Democrats' chances. He's being carried by people who generally view Democrats as better than Republicans because right now the negative partisanship about Republicans and Trump is quite high. But the point that I want to make here when you look at this is that is room for improvement that I do think Biden will close. Is it enough to win? I have no idea. But there will probably be people who are inclined to vote for him, who want to vote for the Democrat for Senate, who will probably do so down ticket, and it's not necessarily being reflected right now in national or swing state polling. The other thing I wanted to mention too, could we scroll down to the approval ratings in those states as opposed to right here? This is perfect if we could put this on the screen. So Biden's approval rating in the swing states here, Arizona 36%, Georgia 35%, Michigan 39, Minnesota 38, Nevada 38, Pennsylvania 39. So high to mid 30s in terms of approval.
No 40s anywhere.
And he's majority disapproval in all of those swing states.
Plus 50 everywhere.
But then you scroll down to those state issues there. If we could go to the abortion part. Voters in Arizona and Nevada were asked if they would vote yes or no on a potential ballot measure to establish the constitutional right to abortion in their state. In Arizona, 56% would vote yes, 26% would vote no, 18% not sure. But that's already a majority by 6 points voting yes in Arizona. And if those signatures hold, as I mentioned earlier, abortion is likely to be on the ballot in Arizona, which just means great things for I'm already pretending Gallego, not Gallego, Gallego, and Biden most likely. And then in Nevada, it's also probably going to be on the ballot. And the approval for an abortion measure is 58% who would vote yes versus 20% who would vote no, 21% unsure.
Democrats rarely miss an opportunity to miss an opportunity. True. Maybe if they pander to the extreme right more, they could win. Yeah.
And that measure is probably going to be on the ballot as well. June 26th is the deadline in Nevada to have the collected signatures provided to ensure that it is a ballot measure. And organizers also say they have more than enough signatures in that instance. So in Nevada and Arizona, that is the good news for the Democrats running there, including Biden. But
look, Hillary lost in part because people decided not to vote one way or the other on the top of the ticket and voted on the rest of it. So I could imagine people doing the exact same thing with Biden here. I hope that that doesn't happen. But, you know, like on the plus side, the Supreme Court isn't on the ballot like it was for Trump in 2016. And I think that pulled a lot of people in, and he's a felon. So there's some things, hurting Trump. So I'm not saying, I think people do overstate, especially with our politics, because Biden deserves to lose, for instance, for supporting genocide, that he will lose, which is not to say that they're not preferable to Republicans. I'm not saying that. But I also just want to, people might remember this because I've been harping on it for a while, but I think, the politics reporters started talking about this supposed one-term pledge that Joe Biden made. And there's this thing about, is there a Mandela effect? Did he actually never really say that? And I mean, the truth is that Politico floated it as an advisor saying that in 2019. And then they later denied it. But he also said the same thing in 2016. And what all of this, like, did he say that or didn't he say that, avoids is that he should be a one-term president and he should not be running for re-election again. And that's been clear for the entirety of this year, and it was clear last year. If you really are this committed to, say, supporting Israel, do it as a lame duck president and let the rest of us move on with democracy.
I would love that if that were the case, but we know it's not going to happen.
Yeah. Which candidate will win the baby eating contest this time?
He had to have made that decision months months ago.
Yeah.
And we were right to say that he should, and that the generic Democrat would win, and I think
And the loss is
win
on
pretty
him
handily. If that happens, yeah.
and them, because like this demonstrates another just a lack of ability to seek an advantage in our political system, where desperately needs people that seek progress to have an advantage. And Trump is an insanely weak presidential candidate that should be again we're here in this position that Donald Trump, like he can turn people out, but again, you should be able to run up the score on this guy.
Oh yeah.
And instead, we are actually any sort of headwind that we have, or any sort of like wind in the sails, like the abortion stuff, we're using it to send just more bombs to Israel and say, no, Bibi, we're actually not delaying nothing. We got you, vote back. So like, I mean, I hope it works, and I wouldn't.
And Biden should be running on things like Medicare, Social Security, I don't know, taxing the rich. These are the kinds of things that we've run through issue polling with Sam.
And to be fair, they kind of are.
Well, we'll see what his tactic is in the debate. And as I said earlier, Ron Klain being the one responsible for debate preparation makes me think that they will do that. So I do.
You said we. Oops. They thought we would all fall in love with Kamala and he could retire. Hi, there was just ranting in my friend's room about a certain orange monster, and suddenly Twitch starts recommending politics channel to me. On the one hand, spying on me. Maybe, I don't know how that's how the algorithm works, but also, hey, like-minded people. Well, welcome. Yeah, so the article that Matt's talking about, and that I've had in my mind is this one. It's this one.
I do think that this looks more positive on its face for Biden than the polling indicates when you just look at it. That's really that was my takeaway from it. But I also
hope so.
I share your frustration.
Hey folks, don't forget to hit the subscribe.
I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I'm just more black-pilled on this election, but Kamala as VP appeals to liberals who think checking boxes is all that matters. Yep. We all know she's a cop. Yep. She's a cop, like a police. She was a former prosecutor. Yeah, literally. Yeah. Since we all deserve something, we all deserve a little something. Let's go over this one here. Alex Jones, court trustee, plans to shut down his notorious, I guess that's one way of categorizing it, conspiracy outlet InfoWars. Conspiracy theorist Alex Jones' InfoWar media empire will be shut down and sold off A bankruptcy court-appointed trustee said in an emergency court filing Sunday, signaling the end of the notorious far-right outlet that Jones has used to spread dangerous misinformation and lies. True. Earlier this month, a bankruptcy judge ruled that Jones' personal assets would be liquidated to help pay off the nearly $1.5 billion he owes the family of victims of Sandy Hook, of the Sandy Hook massacre. But at the time, the judge ruled Jones' media company, Free Speech Systems, the parent owner of InfoWars, would not be liquidated, partly because the process would be costly and lengthy. You do spoil, you do spoil us. Oh, man. In the criminal justice system, the people are represented by two separate yet equally important groups. The dismissal of the bankruptcy case against the outlet meant that the families were free to go after Jones' assets, including InfoWars, in state court. Since Jones is the owner of Free Speech Systems, a court-appointed trustee was put in charge of the company. The trustee wrote on Sunday that since being appointed, he began planning to wind up Free Speech Systems operations and liquidate its inventory. But the trustee said the process was derailed when one of the Sandy Hook victims' parents filed a motion in Texas District Court to be granted custody of all Free Speech Systems assets, including InfoWars. Yeah, dong dong. As a result, Jones' trustee asked a bankruptcy judge for an emergency stay in the case to allow them to conduct an orderly wind down and sale process of InfoWars. Frogs!
Dinner tonight. Make the reservation.
I don't like them putting chemicals in the water that turn the friggin' frogs gay. Do you understand that? Turn the friggin' frogs gay. Serious crap. Gay. Frogs, friggin' frogs. It's not funny. I'm gonna say it real slow for you. Gay. Frogs. Won't you fight for your life? Gay. Frogs, friggin' frogs. I don't like a frogs. Gay. Friggin' frogs. Frogs. Friggin' frog crap. Won't you fight the frogs? It's not funny. I'm gonna say it real slow for you. Frogs. Place point.
There you go. You got the frogs meme. Unfortunately, that means we'll never get any more bangers like that. A small price to pay, I think. In a statement, Christopher Mattei, an attorney for Sandy Hook families from Connecticut who are in favor of liquidating the company, said this is precisely the unfortunate situation that the Connecticut families hope to avoid when we argued the Free Speech Systems / InfoWars case should have remained with the bankruptcy court rather than being dismissed. The Connecticut families are disappointed by this attempt to undercut the orderly and long overdue wind down of Alex Jones' InfoWars platform, Mattei said, referring to the attempt by one set of parents to go after the FSS assets from the beginning. They have led with dignity towards a resolution that is fairly for every family, and grateful that the Chapter 7 trustee has already filed a motion with which 8 of the 9 families agree, supporting an equitable distribution of the FSS assets. Worth it. Maybe he'll learn to play the blues. Jones, who had earlier this month celebrated the judge's ruling to not liquidate InfoWars' parent company, has acknowledged InfoWars would likely only continue broadcasting for a few more months. Amazing. Quote, I'm going to try to move forward and maximize the amount of money we can make at InfoWars to then have a wind down, said Jones outside the courthouse after the hearing dismissing his company's liquidation. Good. Now, where will Alex Jones go after this? I have no idea. But certainly him not having InfoWars anymore is a InfoWars not existing is a societal good. Yeah, hopefully a way. You're right. Hopefully a way. But yeah, InfoWars not existing is just a societal good. Yeah, Musk will buy it. Troll Island. I wonder if deep in his mind he thinks it was worth it. I mean, there's no way he didn't know he was lying this whole time. Does he lie awake at night thinking, was it worth my soul? I don't know. I don't know if this guy cares. Because you're right. There's just no way that he doesn't know what he's doing. At this point. He'll probably go somewhere cold to throw water on the homeless since he likes attacking victims. True. He's still on Rumble. Yeah, but that's not the same. Rumble is nothing. We know Rumble like inflates view counts. Like it's back to the wild things. Max is tired. Maybe he'll be here. But seriously, he probably has some big inner demons that he pays to keep quiet. Well, not anymore. I could already see the right-wing headlines. Judge shuts down free speech. He gave it that name for this specific purpose, believe me. Well, no, I mean, he just thinks... he's just like a free speech warrior, right? And by free speech, he means I want to have the freedom to be the biggest a-hole possible without any societal repercussions. That's what he means. Anyways. Right, the freedom to lie, deceive, mislead, and harm. That's what the free speech means. He can team up with Candace Owens. Yeah, I suppose so. Oklahoma High Court rejects religious charter school contract. So this is good. This is very good. We talked about this. And I believe this is the correct ruling. At this point, I can't believe that Kick hasn't offered him $500,000 to join their platform. I'm also pretty convinced that Kick also inflates their viewers. I'm pretty convinced that Kick also inflates viewers. State justices ordered the Oklahoma statewide virtual charter school board to rescind its contract with the religious charter school, declaring the agreement unconstitutional. The Oklahoma Supreme Court rejected a state contract to open the nation's first public religious charter school in a lopsided ruling that's unlikely to be the final word in a long legal fight. Today's 6-2 decision marks a significant victory for the Oklahoma Attorney General Gentner Drummond, a Republican who pressed justices in April to reverse the state charter board's approval to open publicly funded St. Isidore of Seville Catholic Virtual School. But Republican Governor Kevin Stitt declared that the court's ruling undermines religious freedom and hopes that the case is eventually heard by the U.S. Supreme Court. Quote, "I'm concerned we've seen a troubling message that religious groups are second-class participants in our education system." Yes, actually, they are not entitled to government subsidies or funds. We have a specific rule of separation of church and state. Like the government does not should not give subsidies to promote one religion or the other. $0 should be going to any religious institutions from the government that is for public use. They should be. Religion is second-class thought. Yeah, I don't think that that they're entitled to any public funds. So yes, true. Religious freedom is foundational. Yeah, no one's taking away your freedom to be religious, okay? No one is taking away no one is taking away your ability to practice. Like this isn't about religious freedom. This is nonsense. This is nonsense. Like the state isn't telling you can't practice that religion, okay? It's just saying that like something like a public institution like a school just can't have any government funding. Religion supports supremacist thinking. Equality is oppression to supremacists. Equality is oppression to supremacists. Yes. They just want to be the first class riding coach makes them sad. Start paying taxes and then we'll talk. If they want to get free money that they don't even pay into since church don't pay taxes. Yep. Religious freedom is foundational to our values, and today's decision undermines that freedom and restricts the choices available to Oklahomans. No. Conservative groups, how is this restricting the choices that Oklahomans or that any citizens have? You're forcing state funds or government funds to operate a religious institution. That's not okay. Do you think that these people will have the same attitude if I don't know, the Church of Satan wants to open a public school with public funds? Do you think that they will have that same energy? No. There are a few churches that should be paying taxes since they violate the law about political directions in the church. 100%. All churches should be paying taxes. Conservative groups have rushed to St. Isidore's defense with hope of creating a test case that changes the U.S. Supreme Court's interpretation of the First Amendment's Establishment Clause and clears the way for a new form of public indoctrination. Supporters argue will advance religious indoctrination and school choice. The state justices ordered the Oklahoma statewide virtual charter school board to rescind its contract with the religious charter school, ruling the agreement is unconstitutional violation of both state and federal law. Under Oklahoma law, a charter school is a public school. As such, a charter school must be non-sectarian. However, St. Isidore will evangelize the Catholic faith as part of its school curriculum while being sponsored by the state. Not okay. Not cool. This state's establishment of a religious charter school violates Oklahoma statutes, the Oklahoma Constitution, and the Establishment Clause. The school has been pushing to start operations by July 1st, but the justices wrote St. Isidore cannot justify its creation by invoking its rights to the free exercise of religion. Right, because nobody's stopping you from exercising said religion. It is a nonsensical argument. You just can't do it on government with government funding. A school of Satan, a drag queen teacher in every classroom. The school has been pushing to start operations by July. The trio of federal Supreme Court rulings that expanded the faith-based institutions' access to public funds also do not apply in St. Isidore's case, the state court majority has said. Keep your myth out of our myth. Well, Oklahoma is baby Texas, so this is a step in the right direction at least. What St. Isidore requests from this court is beyond the fair treatment of a private religious institution in receiving a generally available benefit implicating the free exercise clause. The justices wrote, it is about the state's creation and funding of a new religious institution violating the Establishment Clause. The court further waded into a divisive but unresolved legal question over whether public charter schools qualify under the law as private entities or state actors that work on behalf of the government. The Catholic charter school is a public charter school and a state actor. If it receives government funding, then by definition, it is. Quote, this decision is a tremendous victory for religious liberty, said Drummond in a statement. The framers of the U.S. Constitution and those who drafted Oklahoma's Constitution clearly understood how best to protect religious freedoms by preventing the state from sponsoring any religion at all. Now Oklahomans can be assured that our tax dollars would not fund the teachings of Sharia law or even Satanism. Damn. Amazing. Amazing. Amazing that this is the logic that is driving this outcome. Being so xenophobic, to the point where like you actually hinder yourself is actually pretty amazing. Yeah, whatever works. Being xenophobic to the point where it actually hinders you, then it's just phenomenal, amazing. Yeah. State religious and political figures nevertheless suggested that they could challenge that decision. This ruling cannot and must not stand. State school superintendent Ryan Walters. Guess I'm utilitarian. I am in a sense too. Phil Shelker, senior counsel for Conservative Alliance Defending Freedom, legal fund that is representing the state's charter school board, said his clients would consider all legal options, including appeal. The U.S. Constitution protects St. Isidore's freedom to operate according to its faith and supports the board's decision to approve such learning options for Oklahoma families. Great. Nobody says you can't. You can't use tax dollars for it, though. The board knew that the First Amendment's free exercise clause prohibits the state officials from denying public funding to religious schools simply because they are religious. That's actually how that works. If you are a religious institution, then you should not have federal funding. Yes, that's especially if you're trying to make a school. Yeah, they think they're logical. Top Catholic officials in the state also said they're weighing their options. Quote, today's ruling is very disappointing for the hundreds of prospective students and their families from across the state of Oklahoma who desired the education experience and promises of St. Isidore of Seville Catholic Virtual School. So make it just on your own dime and not taxpayer money, said Oklahoma Archbishop Paul Coakley of the Oklahoma City Archdiocese and Bishop David Condria of the Diocese of Tulsa and Eastern Oklahoma in a joint statement. So first of all, first and to end it, just do it on your own dime, okay? No one's denying you anything. Make it on your own dime. Exactly. Private schools always have been paid to attend. Exactly. What is that Republicans keep saying? No handouts? Right. Man. True. That's a good point. Courts block part of Biden's student loan repayment plan for millions. Cool. That's nice. A pair of federal judges on Monday yesterday halted key parts of President Biden's new student loan repayment program, imperiling the administration's plan to lower monthly payments and erase student debt for millions of Americans ahead of the November election. The two court rulings in response to lawsuits filed by, of course, Republican-led states prohibit the Education Department from moving ahead with major provisions of Biden's SAVE loan repayment program. The decisions prevent the Biden administration from further reducing the monthly payments of millions of borrowers as planned in July or canceling more debt under the program. More than 8 million loan borrowers enrolled in the SAVE plan, which the Biden administration launched last year, touting it as the most affordable option for federal student loan borrowers. The Education Department already invoked the loan forgiveness provision of the plan to cancel $5.5 billion of debt for 414,000 borrowers, with more to be scheduled. One message that works for both articles. Yeah. The SAVE program should have been a cornerstone, or has been a cornerstone of the Biden administration's efforts to provide student debt relief to borrowers, even as COVID-era payment pause expired last year, and Biden's bigger ambitions for mass loan forgiveness were blocked at the Supreme Court. But Republicans have argued that the program is the latest in a string of Biden executive actions to ease or erase student debt that far exceed the administration's legal authority. F them poors. Okay? If Biden tries to even give you one crumb, okay? If Biden tries to even give you half a crumb, okay? Republicans are saying, nah, that's just too much. Can't have it. On Monday, a pair of Obama-appointed federal judges partially agreed with them, issuing a state. Damn it. Oh, man, this is phenomenal. Oh, man. A pair of Obama-appointed federal judges partially agree with them, issuing separate preliminary injunctions against several parts of the SAVE program. District Judge John A. Ross of Eastern District of Missouri blocked the Education Department from carrying out any further loan forgiveness for borrowers under the SAVE program until he decides the full case. Ross ruled that Missouri Attorney General Andrew Bailey and other GOP states who sued were likely to succeed on their claims, and the Biden administration lacks the authority to forgive student debt under the SAVE program. Nice. He agreed that the program's loan forgiveness provisions would likely harm Missouri because it would reduce the fees that the Education Department pays to the Missouri Higher Education Assistance Agency. That's the same state-created entity that was at the center of the Supreme Court case over Biden's first mass student debt relief program. Federal student loan borrowers typically must repay their debt for 20 to 25 years to have their remaining balances discharged under the Education Department's income-driven repayment plan, but the SAVE plan had offered a new shorter timeline for forgiveness, canceling debt just after 10 years for borrowers who initially took out less than $12,000. Meanwhile, Kansas District Judge Daniel Crabtree blocked the Education Department from implementing a part of the SAVE program that would further lower some borrowers' monthly payments, in some cases cutting them in half. The SAVE plan has already lowered monthly payments or eliminated them entirely for low-income borrowers for millions of borrowers. But a second phase of the program, which was set to take effect July 1st, was supposed to recalculate borrowers' monthly payments and cap them at 5% of their discretionary income, down from just current 10%. Crabtree ruled that the Republican states were likely to succeed on their claims that the Education Department lacked the authority from Congress to enact the SAVE program, the SAVE plan. Interesting, one only assists Christians and the other assists anyone not based on anything. One of those is reasonable and to be unlawful, while the other should not be. The Education Department did not immediately have a comment on the ruling. The order from the Missouri-based judge blocking the loan forgiveness provision takes effect immediately. The Kansas-based judge deferred his injunction blocking the lower monthly payments until June 30th to give the administration time to appeal the order. Groups advocating for student debt relief slammed the ruling, saying the borrowers are now in limbo. Mike Pierce, the executive director of Student Borrower Protection Center, blasted the courts for creating chaos across the student loan system and said the Biden administration should consider shutting the student loan system down until borrowers have access to the rights they were promised under the law. Man. You know, this whole mess could have been prevented if, we had a universal universal education system. All right, folks, we got one more. Judge alters Trump gag order, letting him talk about the witnesses, jury after the hush money conviction. A Manhattan judge on Tuesday today modified Trump's gag order, freeing the former president to comment publicly about witnesses and jurors in the hush money criminal trial that led to his felony convictions, but keeping the others connected to the case off limits until he's sentenced on July 1st. So, yeah, that's not good. Not great. I like the Ontario way of funding schools. Send your tax dollars to which schools you want, but they need to conform to provincial education guidelines with some wiggle room for electives. I don't know. I don't think that, I don't know. I guess it's better than funding schools based off property taxes. Yeah, who needs safe witnesses, though? Judge Juan Merchant's decision just days before Trump's debate Thursday with President Biden clears the presumptive Republican nominee to again go on the attack against his lawyer-turned-foe, lawyer Michael Cohen, porn actor Stormy Daniels, and other trial witnesses. Trump was convicted on May 30th for falsifying records to cover up a potential sex scandal, making him the first ex-president convicted of a crime. The jurors, that is blatantly illegal. Well, now I guess he's allowed to attack them. Public schools always got the lion's share. Gotcha. In a 5-page ruling, Merchant wrote that the gag order was meant to protect the integrity of the judicial proceedings, and the protection for witnesses and jurors no longer applied now that the trial has ended and the jury has been discharged. Merchant said it had been his strong preference to continue barring Trump from commenting about jurors whose name have not been made public, but that he could not justify doing so. The judge did leave in place a separate order prohibiting Trump and his lawyers from disclosing the identities of individual jurors and their addresses. Trump lawyer Todd Blanche said after the verdict that the defense team has destroyed that information. There is ample evidence to justify continued concern for the jurors, Merchant wrote. Merchant also left in place a ban on Trump commenting about court staffers, the prosecution team, and their families until he is sentenced, writing that they must continue to perform their lawful duties free from threats, intimidation, harassment, and harm. Those restrictions do not prohibit Trump from commenting about the judge himself or the district attorney Alvin Bragg, whose office prosecuted the case. Trump's lawyer also urged Merchant to lift the gag order completely, arguing there was nothing to warrant restricting Trump's First Amendment right after the trial's conclusion. Trump has said the gag order prevented him from defending himself while Cohen and Daniels continued to pillory him. Man. Though largely a win for Trump, his campaign spokesperson Stephen Chung criticized today's ruling as another unlawful decision by a highly conflicted judge, which is blatantly un-American as it gags President Trump, the leading candidate for the 2024 election, during the upcoming presidential debate on Thursday. Chung said Trump and his lawyers will immediately challenge today's unconstitutional order, arguing that portions of the gag order still in effect prevent him from speaking about the judge, whom he alleged had a conflict of interest, or repeating his unfounded claims that Biden directed the prosecution. Manhattan's DA's office asked Merchant to keep the gag order's ban on comments about the jury and trial staff in place until at least Trump is sentenced, but said last week that they would be okay allowing Trump to comment about witnesses now that the trial is over. A message seeking for comment was left with the Manhattan DA's office. Cohen, who testified 4 days against his ex-boss, reacted to the ruling via text message. He wrote, "For the past 6 years, Donald and acolytes have been making constant negative statements about me. Donald's failed strategy of discrediting me so he can avoid accountability didn't work then and won't work now." Daniel's lawyer, Clark Brewster, said they have nothing but respect for Merchant and defer to his post-verdict review of the gag order in context of free speech and any continuing danger to the judicial process. His decision to impose restrictions on Mr. Trump as it's related to reckless and unrelenting character attacks on court personnel, trial witnesses, and potential jurors was extraordinary but clearly justified given the defendant's uncontrollable daily rants. Trump was convicted of 34 counts of falsifying business records arising from what prosecutors said was an attempt to cover up hush money payments to Stormy Daniels just before the 2016 election. She claims he had a sexual encounter with Trump a decade earlier, which he denies, but yet had to pay for. The crime is punishable for up to 4 years behind bars, but prosecutors haven't said they would seek incarceration. It's unclear if Merchant would impose such a sentence. Other options include a fine or probation. Following his conviction, Trump complained that he was under a nasty gag order, while also testing its limits. In remarks the day after his conviction, Trump referred to Cohen as a sleazebag, though not by name. In a subsequent Newsmax interview, Trump took issue with the jury and its makeup, complaining about Manhattan as a very liberal Democrat area, so I knew we were in deep trouble, and claiming I never saw a glimmer of smile from the jury. No, this was a venue that was very unfair. A tiny fraction of the people are Republicans. Just to be fair, if a leak happened and ends up in a juror's death by MAGAs, the judge should be held to the same standard as the hand that kills a juror. So if it was a murder, the judge should be charged with murder. I don't know. Wow, the jury were actually taking their job seriously? What the hell, America? When will someone actually gag Trump? I mean, literally, his rhetoric is borderline a crime against nature, mathematics, sanity, and my last nerve. Well, Trump's lawyers said they were under the impression a gag order would end with a verdict, wrote to Merchant on June 4th, asking him to lift the order. Prosecutors wanted Merchant to keep the gag order's ban on comments about jurors and trial staff at least to the sentencing hearing and resolution of any post-trial motions. They argued the judge had an obligation to protect the integrity of these proceedings and the fair administration of justice. Trump issued this gag order. Merchant issued the Trump's gag order on March 26th, A few weeks before the start of the trial, after prosecutors raised concern about the presumptive Republican presidential nominee's propensity to assail people involved in his cases. Merchant later expanded it to prohibit comments about his own family after Trump made social media posts attacking the judge's daughter, a Democratic political consultant. During the trial, Merchant held Trump in contempt of court, fined him $10,000 for violating the gag order, and threatened to put him in jail if he did again. In seeking to lift the order, Trump's lawyers, Todd Blanche and Emil Bove, argued that Trump was entitled to unrestrained campaign advocacy in light of Biden's public comments about the verdict and Cohen and Daniels' continued public criticism. Yeah, whatever. Oh, and can I just agree about the last nerve thing? The whole thing is driving me totally insane. How the man is not behind bars and making those of us who don't live in the U.S. look in the direction and go, what? Yeah, I don't know. Anybody else could have been in jail a long time ago. Yeah, it's beyond me. I don't know. I don't know. I don't have an answer. Sorry. What if Trump is saying about the Manhattan crime is true, then it should also mean that they should move the stolen federal document charges out of Florida. Man. You want to talk about conflict of interest? Whew. And the trouble is that no judge is going to put him in jail now, because the last thing any judge wants is to be accused of interfering in an election, which on paper could be described as, no matter how guilty he might be, as legally speaking, the optics are horrendous. Yeah, but I kind of don't care, right? Because like it basically means that if they're afraid, about how this looks, like, then like what is the point of even having the laws, right? Because like that just basically means the president is in fact de facto immune, right? Like that just basically means like, oh, the president can basically do what they want because a judge doesn't want to look, a judge doesn't want to look improper or whatever. When people that have no understanding of the law knows more than a federal judge, you have a problem. Sure, I don't care either, but I can see the viewpoint of a judge not wanting to go down in history as effectively deciding a president absolutely he should face justice, and does not just a president is immune, a candidate that is immune, that's even worse. Yeah, like, essentially, yeah, but that's the precedent it sets, right? Like, I understand what you're saying. I'm just saying that I think it's more important to uphold, it's more important to uphold accountability. Yeah, I don't know what's going on in that judge's mind. I don't know if he's going to sentence him to jail. Probably not. Probably effectively, Trump is just going to end up getting a slap on the wrist. That's realistically what's going to end up happening. Folks, it is time for me to go get food. Thank you all for stopping by. I appreciate it. Thank you for all the support. Thank you, Hambliss, for the tier 1 subscription. I appreciate it. Thank you for the follows. I appreciate it. I've often returned to a particular point of history, frameworks, and constitution a fairly strong belief that anyone who rose to the position of president judge should be the best of the best, or at least qualified. They simply did not anticipate convicted felons, maniacs, and scumbags reaching for the point where it would even be an issue. Well, here we are. No one really expected someone this criminal to ever be a candidate, so it's broken the system. Right, but it's kind of, kind of short-sighted, right? To think that like no one could try to break the system. Anyways, that just seems kind of naive. Sorry for listening. Thanks for listening. Sorry I tend to rant on this topic. Nah, you're good. All right, folks, it's time for me to go. Thank you all for stopping by. I appreciate it. Thank you for hanging out. We'll be back tomorrow at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. If you're on the YouTube, subscribe to the YouTube, as 255 of you have already done. Thank you, Montes. I appreciate it. Keep liking the stream. We didn't bother to make it illegal for convicted felons to run because no one would vote for a convicted felon, and yet here we are. And yet here we are. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you, Michael Hassler, for modding the chat. Thank you, Heat, for modding the chat. Join the Discord, folks. Join the Discord. This Thursday, we might stream the presidential debate. Thank you, Jane Doe. We might stream the presidential debate on the Discord because, yeah, if we try to do it here, that ain't gonna fly. That ain't gonna fly. Also, this weekend, folks, if you want to join the Discord, there will be a movie event. A candidate just bet on himself to lose. Yep. You should take a look at what's happening here under the UK right now. Our politics has gone extremely silly. Yeah, it's one way of putting it. That's one way of putting it. So once again, folks, join the Discord. Okay, we'll be back tomorrow. As always, folks, please stay safe. Please take care of each other. I love you all, and I hope to see you guys in the next one tomorrow, 5 p.m. Eastern Time. See ya. Cheers. Hang tight, folks. We're heading out in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Thank you for the follow, Raptor Kitten. Bye-bye.